Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, well, it's because first of all, I've been holding near for over 2 years, so I just don't want to give up like that. But even besides that as well, the idea of maybe $30, I'm also still thinking about that. Doesn't mean it will happen, right? But I'm still thinking about it in terms of the price, but only time will tell. And again, even though nothing I say is financial advice, ultimately I'm holding near because I also do really like its fundamentals beyond me just holding it for quite a while. Because for me to hold something for that long, I feel like I have to like the fundamentals, and I do in this case because when I first believed in Near, it was this kind of unique project where, sure, the Near protocol was famous in the blockchain space, and it had an aspect of sharding technology, which I'm going to talk about later on in the video as to what I mean by that. But now, when I take a look at Near, they kind of describe themselves as the blockchain for AI, which I do really like because it showcases that they kind of understand where the market seems to be heading. Because, yeah, sure, altcoins are not doing the best as of right now, and it's not really going to have such a big AI narrative currently, but it could very well be different moving forward because not too long ago, when I saw altcoins do pretty good, and that was not even during an altcoin season, AI seemed to be a really big narrative. So seeing kind of Near preemptively prepare for that, if let's say there is a time where, you know, there is an altcoin season, I think that right there is actually a pretty smart move, but only time will tell whether or not it will work out in their favor or not. But even besides that, why do I think AI is pretty interesting? Well, it's because, again, even though, a lot of the hype for it in this space right now when it comes to altcoins and stuff, it's not really doing the best, but then still, according to Grandview Research, the AI market is expected to be worth nearly $2 trillion by 2030, so that's very impressive. And it doesn't mean it will happen, I suppose, but it's still pretty interesting nonetheless. And also, when I take a look at Near, what I like about it is, again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, is the aspect of sharding technology. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about this? Well, I think it's pretty interesting because through sharding, the network is split into multiple sections known as shards, and workload on the network, they're distributed amongst these different shards, and again, as a result, it becomes very scalable. Now, keep in mind, this is not the only project out there that has an aspect of sharding, the way you take a look at it, because we take a look at Harmony, for instance, right? That has an aspect of it. We take a look at something like Zilliqa, which is allegedly the world's first ever sharding-based blockchain. So, yeah, I mean, there's other things to look at as well when it comes to that aspect. But when I take a look at just the complete package in terms of Near's overall popularity, when I take a look at its presence, when I take a look at just what it's been able to do so far, I find it pretty interesting within that space. Now, also, I'm totally aware that $30 is around a 13x from here. So, depending on the viewpoint here, it could be viewed as being not that far away, or also at the same time being quite far away. But in my perspective, it doesn't seem maybe that far away, even though at the price of $30, the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 38.5 billion, which again is around a 13x from here. But the way you take a look at it is this. $30 is around a 13x away from Near as of right now, and this is considering the price pullback that we've seen when it comes to Near, and also considering how altcoins aren't, again, necessarily doing the best. And also, what I find very surprising is this. When I just take a look at Near not too long ago, right? What I can see is that, for instance, less than a year ago, in December of 2024, Near, the market cap was around 9 billion. So if we take a look at it, that's actually over 3x from where it is as of right now, again, in terms of market cap. Now, some people may be thinking, oh yeah, well, that's almost a year ago. Well, again, it was back in December, but that's still less than a year ago, and that was without an altcoin season in my perspective. So Near, in order to do over 3x slightly, it doesn't need to do what it did back in 2021 in the grand scheme of things. All it really needs to do, kind of, is just go back to the market cap that it was at back in December of 2024. I'm not saying that it can do that because historical performance doesn't guarantee necessarily future performance, but at the same time, if we were just to imagine Bitcoin doing a 3x from where it is as of right now, it would have to reach something it has never reached before in history, which is over 300 grand. Because again, we haven't seen that when it comes to Bitcoin. We've seen Bitcoin reach over 100 grand, which it is as of right now, but we've never even seen over 300, let alone 200. Not to say that it could hypothetically not be a possibility, because I still believe in that future as well. Near, in order to do over 3x from here, it doesn't need to reach uncharted kind of territories, you know? All it needs to do is that, what it did just back in December of 2024. But yeah, besides that point, I think that if anything kind of showcases how when it comes to altcoins, just the sentiment hasn't been doing the best, but also a lot of them kind of achieved pretty good things even not too long ago, right? And again, less than a year ago. And personally for me, I just don't feel like I've seen an altcoin season during this cycle. I haven't seen that 2021 type of altcoin season again this time around. Now, granted, the way I take a look at it is that why is, this idea of not having seen an altcoin season yet still on my mind? Well, it's because if I take a look at something like BNB, something like Ethereum reaching a new all-time high, they're very big cap, altcoins, right? They have a very big market cap, but we haven't kind of seen it trickle down to a major extent, like what we saw back in 2021. Like, yeah, sure, again, not too long ago, we saw Near at around a $9 billion market cap, but it's not like we saw it at 20 billion or something like that, right? So I just haven't seen that kind of movement when it comes to altcoins, generally speaking. And also something else that sometimes people like to ask me is that the market cap as of right now, when it comes to Near, is around that $2.7 billion range. But then they wonder why actually the sentiment for Near back in, let's say, 2023, when the market cap was around a billion, they wonder why it's actually better back then in terms of the sentiment when compared to right now. Well, it's because I think back then we just saw a very big dump when it comes to Near, along with a bunch of other altcoins though, right? Ever since that 2021 bull run was over. But still, even despite that, I felt like there was still some enthusiasm when it comes to Near because I felt like there was something to look forward to. Like a lot of people were wondering, hey, what maybe could 2024 or 2025 could bring, right? But then right now, because the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of 2024, and now we're already like, a ways removed from there, right? We're already around 18 months removed from that, and we still haven't seen an altcoin season, I think, arguably, which is why I think just the prolonged timeline has caused kind of the sentiment to not be as good currently, even though the market cap right now is actually over 2 times more than when the, again, market cap was sitting around a billion, but then actually the sentiment was better back then in terms of compared to right now, which again, that's the explanation that I would say. I'm not saying I'm, 100% when it comes to this, but it's just my analogy, right? This is just the way to take a look at it and just how I kind of think about the market cap and just how that's kind of affecting the sentiment right now and why I actually think the sentiment was better before despite having a lower market cap. But even besides that point, when I take a look at again the idea of $30, the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 38.5 billion. So that's not going to be breaking any records. It's not going to be anything groundbreaking like that. I mean, we even saw BNB, which I understand, reach a new all-time high during the cycle, whereas Near, of course, clearly did not. But besides that, BNB back in 2021, even at one point, the market cap was over 100 billion. So is around 38.5 billion too much to ask for? Well, first of all, it doesn't mean it will happen, but it wouldn't necessarily kind of surprise me too much if it did, just because when I take a look at Near, the overall kind of vibes in terms of the amount of holders, in terms of the listings, which I think are very impressive. So at the end of the day, I'm still a fan when it comes to the Near protocol. I haven't given up, and that's why I'm still holding ultimately. Now, when is there going to be an altcoin season? I ultimately will not know the answer to that question, and even if I put up a price chart, I drew a random triangle, if let's say I try to draw a falling wedge pattern, I could do all that, but then the market isn't going to care about what I have to do there, right? So what am I doing that for? I'd rather just stay patient, dollar cost average, hold and wait, and that's really about it. Because by me dollar cost averaging and just waiting, if let's say I'm sleeping, if let's say I'm walking in the park, let's say I'm watching a movie or something like that, if for whatever reason the market wakes up, I didn't have to try to find the perfect moment, right? It just kind of happened and then I'm holding and just went along with the ride. So to me, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just dollar cost averaging, holding and just waiting. Sometimes it may seem boring, I'm totally aware of that, but it is what it is. I'm just doing that to not kind of have unnecessary stress in my life because if I'm trying to find the perfect moment, I won't be able to and I'm going to stress myself out. So why would I do that? I'd rather just stay patient, hold, and just wait, even though it may seem boring. That's what I'm doing, and I'm not telling you to do anything, by the way. This is just my personal perspective. But I'm still holding Near and I'm still staying patient, and that's pretty much about it. And just waiting if let's say there is even if an altcoin season, but only time will tell during this cycle. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you on the next one. I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a nice day. I'm out. Peace. Bye.